What's up, guys? Canadian Guy here, and we're back with a familiar guest of the show. We got Thomas Wilson back again for a wonderful interview talking about CTR. It's been a while since PAX has happened.
Yes.
It's going to be an incredible launch. And just a few questions I got to ask because there's some things that people are kind of asking about. One of those questions I want to ask is, can you re-explain for those out there, because we had Chicken Stew explain to us what Grand Prix was.
Yes.
Can we have you explain what Grand Prix exactly is?
Big surprise. Chicken Stew. I mean, I was really, at the beginning of the development, we wanted to sort of draw the inspiration from everything racing, in the Crash Bandicoot franchise. So there was CTR, there was Crash Nitro Kart, and there was Crash Tag Team Racing. And there was something fun about Chicken Stew, and we knew that we wouldn't just want to release the game at launch and then stop there. We wanted to add content, and Chicken Stew were sort of the perfect guests to be sort of describing what you could expect from every Grand Prix. So our Grand Prix is seasonal content post-launch, and it basically introduces. There's always a new track. And this is brand new. It's really important to know. It's not something we're remastering. It's something we created. So it's a brand new track. People have been asking for new content, inspired by the world, the franchise as it is. But I mean, there's always opportunity to create something new. We're adding new characters, and of course, we've been seeing the reactions. People wanted Tana. We knew she was coming. People have been asking for the trophy girls. Where are the trophy girls?
Oh no!
And I was like, we know it's coming. Actually, it was one of my first order of business to have the trophy girls become playable characters.
Really?
We knew we wanted them to be in the game as, racers. And so what we did is we put them in the first Grand Prix, which we call the Nitro Grand Prix. New characters, new karts as well. And so the idea is, and we're also introducing challenges. So what it is we have daily challenges, we have weekly challenges, we have pro challenges. These challenges are an opportunity to fill up what we call the Nitro gauge. And the Nitro gauge is where all the rewards you can collect from a specific Grand Prix are located.
Right.
And so you can see what you can potentially collect. And so the idea is that you just by playing the game, you will collect Nitro or Nitro points that will fill out your Nitro gauge. And the more you fill it up, the more rewards you unlock.
Right.
And so this is how it's going to work. And so we're also adding additional items in the pit stop. So new character skins, new paint jobs. For instance, for the first Nitro Grand Prix, we were having, flags of the world. So, we're Canadians. Then you can race with your Canadian flag on it if you want.
I think that's going to be permanently on my card, especially with the name of the channel. So what would happen, let's say, for example, I play the first Grand Prix for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Then, let's say it lasts a month, and then I go on vacation for 2 weeks.
Yes.
And I come back and I didn't earn all those characters or all those skins or whatnot. Are they lost, forever gone? Or...
I would say it's time limited.
Okay.
So yes, the content that's available for one season is going to be there for a while.
Okay.
We informed the player about the time that's left to get those items. They disappear for a while.
Okay. For a while. So with Grand Prix, is this really a way for Beanox to be able to now really flex their creative muscles to the max? Is this because, like you just said, there's going to be new tracks, there's going to be possibly characters that maybe have never even touched the Crash Racing franchises before? Tell me, how does that feel to finally be able to, you almost have training wheels for the remaster, and now it's like, okay, you're on your own.
Yes.
How does that feel for you and for Beanox to be able to do this?
Well, it feels great. I mean, it's just that, let's face it, at one point there's so many items we can remaster, in terms of we've remastered all the tracks, we've added the tracks from Crash Nitro Kart as well, and then at one point we're like, but there's so much more in the world of, of Crash Bandicoot, so what are the things that we could potentially incorporate? What are the characters we haven't seen yet? And specifically for the tracks design, yes, there was an opportunity to just create, to just be creative and create new layouts. And considering that the design team has been, working on this game with passion and attention to details, we felt comfortable creating our own because then we've all played and remastered the original tracks. We played a lot on them, and so we can understand what makes a good track, right?
Right.
And also the other opportunity was that we could to a certain extent, inspire ourselves from some of the stuff that's been done in the past. So, give you an example. The first track was what we call Twilight Tour.
Right.
Well, there was inspiration from the world coming from Insane Trilogy, but
Right.
in Crash Tag Team Racing, there was also tracks like Pyramid Pass.
Right.
And then the second Grand Prix we announced, which is Prehistoric Playground. That's the name of the track. There was a track in CTTR that was called Fossil Fuel Injection. So.
Right.
There's a little bit of inspiration, but it's still brand new content.
Right, okay.
So, yeah.
So it might be thematically inspired by content from CTTR,
Yeah.
but not exactly the same.
And it could be also brand new. So, I mean, it depends on what we do. But one thing for sure is that we're trying to inject as much, new content as we can. So, for instance, in Twilight Tour, we added this thing where it's actually, you go from night to day in one lap. So there's something very unique. So it's Egypt by night,
right.
And then you go inside the temple, and then you get out, and then suddenly it's Persia by day. So we're playing with little features here and there that we think is interesting. To give you something interesting about Prehistoric Playground, it's not just going back in time. It's going back in time what if Fake Crash had stolen or found Entropy's staff? What happens?
Oh no!
So we're going. It's a fake prehistoric environment. So you'll be racing through like a bunch of prehistoric fake crash community with fake dinosaurs with big teeth, and we're just trying to have a little bit of fun and humor when we're designing these environments.
I couldn't think of a better character to steal Entropy's staff. I couldn't think of this.
So that's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be amazing. Now, along with many Crash fans of the channel, there are also just as many Spyro fans of the channel. Now, you announced Spyro and Friends.
Yes.
Is there any details at all that you can share with us?
It's called Spyro and Friends.
Translation: no.
But Spyro's there. Spyro just, in itself, it was a big announcement, and we knew, people, the community has been talking about it, and it was quite obvious in the beginning, very early on in development, that we were going to have Spyro in the game.
Right.
I mean, he's such a cool character,
right.
And they have a history.
They do.
So we had this opportunity, knowing that we were going to develop extra content post-launch, that there was this opportunity to create something with Spyro in it.
And I think that a lot of people were very, very happy when you announced that.
Yes.
And the way it was announced was also very casual. It's like, oh yeah, there's Spyro, and everyone's just like, wait, what? Full stop.
We did that on purpose, actually. We had the whole CTR TV introduction. That was part of what people will see when the Grand Prix kicks off on the 3rd of July. But we knew that we were just going to drop that slide with Tana and Spyro and Baby T, and we're like, yep. We're doing it.
He's there. CTR has been at many events across the world now, from Comic-Cons to PAX to E3. What has the feedback been like from those demos that you've been hearing from people? As people talk their initial reactions online, whether it be through Twitter, YouTube, and stuff. What has the feedback been like when you hear people talk about it?
I would say amazing. I think that the fans' reaction has been great, and I'm super appreciative of the love we've been getting. Look, when you're a game developer, and let's say we have the responsibility of mastering a game like Crash Team Racing, we know there are fans out there. I'm a fan. You have people out there who just fell in love with the game, and people are still playing the game at the moment. So I think for us, it was really important to make sure that we were just paying tribute to the original material. So far, the reaction has been very positive. I mean, people see what we've done, what we injected into it. Like, our first order of business was to make sure that the driving mechanic felt authentic.
Right.
But moving from there, I mean, there was an opportunity to add additional content. Like customization was something that was brand new. Like adding, the CNK content was there. Adding online was there. And so these were little surprises that we were planning all along. And I think that people have been reacting very positively to the content that we've added to the game. I will say that one thing I can say, of all the places I've been, the control mechanics from Crash Team Racing, is something that requires practice. Because, it's very unique to Crash Team Racing. The idea of power sliding and then triggering the boost manually is something that requires time, and it needs to be learned. And if there's something I've seen, is that people sometimes are struggling a little bit.
Right.
I've seen like the sometimes the comments in the community saying, we're not seeing this person drift or power slide, and I can understand, because it's such a core fundamental gameplay mechanic from Crash Team Racing.
Right.
That's something that I've seen that people will need to sort of get familiar with as they play the game. But the more you play the game and the more you become familiar with that mechanic, the better. Then you feel good about yourself. So far the reaction's been very positive.
So now that with Crash Nitro Kart tracks have been added to the game, you said before in the previous interview that some of the tracks had to be adjusted, they had to get the anti-grav removed and stuff. Was that difficult to translate that into a proper CTR experience? Because personally for me, I've been playing the game early, and I've been playing the Nitro Karts, and they feel like they've always belonged. Like you guys did an awesome job because it feels like they belong in CTR. Was that difficult to translate those carts to a CTR experience?
Yeah, I would say not difficult. It was just a good challenge. Really, the idea was to make sure that what we wanted to do when we were sort of like readapting the tracks from CNK was that, let's say the goal was to make sure that whatever the modifications we were going to make, people would still play and have the impression that it was exactly the same thing.
Okay.
And so, yes, removing the anti-gravity sections meant rethinking, the way we would connect the pieces together.
Right.
Because sometimes, the track would go in a loop, or would just like corkscrew, and we had to think about like, okay, so what do we do? Right. So sometimes we would just like, unbend the track and just simply make an S curve, and then that would be enough. But some tracks had more elaborate layouts, and so. I'm thinking Electron Avenue, for instance, where there was like a big, gap, and you were sort of sliding down. So what we did was simply through design iterations. So the design team would sort of put in front of me different proposals for how we could modify the tracks, and then we would just like try to make a call for what we felt was right. I would say that one thing that was really important was the length of the tracks.
Right.
Some of the tracks in CNK were very long, and we wanted to adjust the sort of length of a track to something that was closer to CTR. Right. Some of the tracks were fairly short, 30 seconds lap or 40 seconds lap, and so what we did is in some areas we just decided to literally remove entire sections to try to make them a little shorter in length, but still retaining the essence of the original track. So yes, it means a creative input.
Right.
It means an executive call on some of the original track layout, but it was always with CTR in mind.
Right.
The number one goal was to take the tracks and adapt them to CTR. So once we nailed the controls on the original tracks we were remastering, we knew how it would feel when you're driving along a track, saying, well, this is too long, this is too wide, this is too short, and this is how we adapted them.
Right. So, was there any track, was it Electron Avenue specifically or was there another track that you found was the most difficult? Like there was one track that you were just like, you keep coming back to it, or there's a problem with it, and you keep readjusting it. Was there one track specifically?
Thunderstruck was a tough one.
Really?
Yes, because there was a lot of loops and a lot of anti-gravity sections, and sometimes the way the tracks would be connected together was making sense depending on where, let's say, the starting gate was. But in the case of Thunderstrucks, it was more difficult to sort of readapt the layout of the track.
Right.
So we had to figure out what would be the best way of connecting the pieces together that we, let's say, removed to replace with something else.
Right.
In the end, I think the team did an excellent job, but Thunderstruck is one that comes to mind when we're thinking about the challenge of readapting the layout.
So I keep coming back to the Grand Prix because, like I said, that's one of the most questions. Is that, are you guys thinking about doing seasonal content like Christmas, Halloween, anything along the lines of that?
All I can say is that if you look at what we revealed, so we talked about the Nitro tour, then we talked about the Prehistoric tour, or Back in Time, and Inspire and Friends. Think about it. There are opportunities, there are things happening along the year that are always fun and exciting. So I can't give you the specifics.
Okay.
All I can say is that, think about it.
Think about it. It's a good answer. Being a Canadian studio and being handed the legendary name of Crash Bandicoot, and not just Crash Bandicoot, Crash Team Racing.
Yes.
Here you go, remake it, good luck to you. How does it feel that, as a Canadian studio, to bring it back?
Look, it feels great. You know, it's a privilege. I still remember when we started discussing, you know, talking about the idea of remastering Crash Team Racing. I was literally pinching myself on the conference call. And so you try to stay professional, right? But, you know, we're all kids at heart.
Right.
And, you know, having the opportunity to remaster a game like this, a game that I fell in love 20 years ago, was great. But, you know, to be honest, it doesn't matter where you're from. What matters is that the quality of the game you put out. You know, we're super proud of the work that we've done, you know, looking at the history of Beanox. You know, we haven't just worked with Crash Bandicoot. I mean, we've worked with Spider-Man. We've worked with Skylanders. We worked on Call of Duty.
Right.
These are all very important franchises for a lot of people out there.
Right.
And so whatever we do, you know, what I want people to remember is that Beanox is a studio that cares. It's a studio that cares about the work we're doing, no matter what the franchise is going to be. Because, you know, we understand the passion and the love for characters, universes, people that, you know, that they really love them. And you just got to make sure that you do the right job. So, you know, very proud as a Canadian studio, very proud of, you know, the Quebec industry in general. I think that, you know, there's a lot of creative people in Canada. So I think that it's just a great opportunity, really.
So with CCR now wrapping up, right, and everything being finished, what if you had to name one thing that you learned on this project that you're going to take for future projects? Is there anything?
That's a good one. I mean, I think it all comes back to attention to details. It's just that, especially when you're remastering a game like this, or every time we were sort of tweaking controls, you think you remember how it was.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you keep playing, keep looking, you keep analyzing how it was done, and you're like, huh, I didn't notice that. And then you start seeing all the little details that you could have missed out.
Right.
And I think that, you know, it was really important for us to really go down and deep into the details of how things were made, so we can understand why people are loving it so much.
Right.
You know, why am I loving this? So what is this thing that was the magic sauce? And so I think that paying attention to what made this game so great is what allows us then, let's say, just for, you were talking about the post-launch content, the Grand Prix, what can we take from what we felt was great? Why did we like that track so much?
Right.
And what can we bring and incorporate into the brand new content we would create?
Right.
So I think it's really understanding what made it great in the first place, all the attention to details, and try to inject as much attention to details to what we're creating now.
Right. That's a very good point. And last question, is nitrous oxide still your favorite racer?
Well, I mean, okay, I love nitrous oxide, but I'll tell you, in all honesty, the thing I like the most in our game is the randomize button. I really like randomizing everything that I have, because, you know, that's what I told people. Crash, or even the Crash characters in general, the term that comes to mind is adorable. I think they're all adorable. Even the villains are adorable. And so we wanted to make an adorable kart racing game.
Right.
And so for me, whatever I'm putting out, you know, all the customization items, all the outfits, it's just this thing about like just having fun with how they look and how you can combine things and do crazy stuff. And so randomizing is something I like to do a lot. I tend, when I'm playing, to just switch characters for fun.
Right.
Like, you know, of course, you know, depending if you prefer to race with advanced characters or intermediate characters, beginner characters, doesn't really matter. You know, it could have an impact on your racing experience, but I like them all. I really do like them all. I would say, honestly, with what we did with the Nitro squad, they're pretty badass. I really like racing with the Nitro squad. I think they're really cool. I think people will like them.
We've seen a little bit of it, and I think that a lot of people will like it too. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.